We talk about news, religion, politics, and lots more. You'll find it all at no other channel but JIZO Expression.
Hey, what up, beautiful people? How you doing today? It's a beautiful weather here in Canada, Alberta precisely. You can see how beautiful it is. Beautiful sky, blue and white, beautiful weather. But however, this weather can quickly turn into something else. I'm just going out for a little bit of walk so I can actually show you guys how it looks like today morning after the big storm of snow last night. So stay tuned and hope you enjoy it. It's really deep snow. It's about 12 inches or more, which is like 1 foot. I'm wearing my steel toe boots right now before I can even walk on the snow. It's really deep. Yeah. This is Canada for you. We're supposed to be in spring, and after spring it's supposed to be summer. Yeah, I can't believe that in spring we're still having a big dump pile of snows, This is what we get here in Canada. So for those that are planning of migrating to Canada, coming to Canada, oh brother, please help us. We want to come to Canada. How is Canada? Here, this is the weather of Canada. So you got to make up your mind if you really want to come to Canada or not. Oh yeah, I hope you guys have seen that, right? It could go from that beautiful weather that I was out in a little bit a while ago. It could go from that beautiful weather that I just showed you, the beautiful sky, the blue and white sky, beautiful atmosphere, a fantasy atmosphere, to the one that I showed you, the snowing. Yeah, it could go into that. You know what I mean? But anyway, it is what it is. This is Canada. Basically, I'm just doing this video just to help people who have sent me message privately asking about Canada and the cost of living in comparison of Canada to maybe other countries and blah, blah, blah. But I did reply them that I haven't lived in another country. I traveled though as a sportsman. I represented Nigeria during my sport age for boxing, and I've been to world championships, and I've been all over pretty much a lot of countries. I've been there, traveled, but I've never lived in there. So Canada is a place that I've lived in the last 22 plus years. Okay, I'm proud to say I'm a Canadian. In the last 22 plus years, almost going to be 23 years, I'm not sure I've been out of Canada for 10 months, like living in another country, precisely, maybe visiting Africa. So whenever I go to Africa, I basically stay for like 4 weeks, 3 weeks. Because what is the purpose? Africa, Nigeria, it's not safe. So I'm not going to take my life for granted and giving my money, my hard-earned money, or my family's money, or taking loan from the bank to give to the terrorists, the Boko Haram and the stinking Fulani, whatever. No. So I stay where I have comfort, where I have peace. And anytime I choose to go Africa, I just go visit family in Ghana. Ghana is beautiful. But anyway, today I'm not talking about Ghana. I want to talk about Canada, the country that I've lived in the last 22 years, the country that have given me all that I have, the country that have made me to be a man, the country that has given me everything that I literally own, my house, my family, the beautiful atmosphere, the weather, the good job. What else can I say? So I'm going to use this video to do a presentation, and basically just to help you guys who wants to migrate. Like I'm going to advise, before you migrate to any country, do your research. Find out the country that you're going into. If your family demand meet up the country's expectation. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people who travel from Africa. I understand a lot of people want to travel from Africa, especially for a greener pasture. And they will get to United Nations Arab Emirates, and they will find out that what they paid for was not what is given to them. The traveling agent have taken over from them. They have stolen from them. They have been defrauded. Some of them are going to be posting videos and making videos and crying for help and here and there. So if you want to go into a country, find a reliable person who has lived in that country, who has adequate knowledge about the country, and then they can be able to share their experience with you or help you out. Okay, so basically, if you want to visit Canada, I'm going to leave a link, or you can email me directly on my YouTube channel. There's going to be an email on my description. Email me and talk to me, and I'll be able to I'll be glad to be able to help you out, find out information, details that you needed, And if you need sponsorship, I can as well do that as well. But however, I'm going to be sharing today with you about the cost of living in Canada. Canada is about 38 million plus people. And inside that 28 million plus, 23% of that is majority the migrant. In every 4 Canadians you see walking on the street, 1 is an immigrant. Yeah, so Canada is a home of the native lands. The native own this land. And that is why in the Canada national anthem they say, "Oh Canada, our home and native land." So Canada is the home of everybody. But they do remind us that the natives own this land, which we applaud and appreciate them. Okay, so Canada have 10 provinces and 3 territorial integrities. It could be pretty expensive sometimes to live in Canada. Not sometimes, it is expensive. Yeah, so it also depending on which part of Canada you want to live. Some people, majority of people, when they come in, they're either visiting in Ontario or British Columbia, it's beautiful. And then Alberta. Calgary precisely is expensive as well. Nothing is cheap. And for a lot of you that are coming from other third world countries, especially Nigeria, our currency is pretty poor. You know, most of the African currency is poor. By the time you change all those, your million CFA, million naira, you found out that when you get to Canada, you can only afford to pay 3 months of rent with all those your million. And you'll be shocked. A month of rent in Canada, it's equivalent to a beautiful apartment in Africa for 1 year. So basically, if you're coming here, all those money you think you have them in millions of papers. By the time you change it, like I said, it's basically going to pay rent for 2 months, 3 months. Maybe you start looking for help and here and there. You find that a lot of people will come here, they are doctors, some are professional training, but by the time they get here, their money is exhausted, they got to find something to do. A whole lot of them end up working in the warehouses and stuff like that because they got to pay the bill. Yeah, but anyway, I'm not going to talk too much. Stay tuned, watch this video. It's going to be a good presentation about Canada, the cost of living, and the beautiful atmosphere of Canada. Enjoy, and I will be right back.
Known for merciless winters, Moraine Lake, maple syrup, polite people, and not so polite hockey players, Canada is a G7 member and the 9th biggest economy in the world by GDP. If you are a Canadian watching this video, don't forget to say sorry in the comment section, eh? Canada is a Commonwealth country based on the principle of peace, order, and good government. Some say it's slightly inclined towards the need for the common good while accepting moderate limits on individual freedom. But Canada is not a socialist country. It is a capitalistic economy based on the accumulation of capital, production of wealth based on the wage-labor relationship between the owners and workers, and the means of production through mostly privately owned companies generating profits for their owners. Yes, the country does have a developed social security net, but many people fail to understand that having welfare programs does not make a country socialist. You can call it a mixed market economy, but that mixture consists of capitalism and minimum state regulation instead of a mixture of capitalism and socialism. Canada, just like many developed nations, followed a sequence of transitioning from a raw material-based economy to a manufacturing-based economy, and finally transitioning again to a service-based economy. In an earlier video, we discussed that most service-based economies happen to somehow have their service sector around 70% of the total GDP. This pattern is true for the Canadian economy as well. Ranked among the top 10 countries on the Economic Freedom Index, the Canadian economy has some resemblance with the Australian economy. Australia has magpie attacks and Canada has geese. Sorry, let's get back to the economic-only similarities. Both economies are wealthy and industrialized. Both have housing bubbles. Both are highly exposed to international trade and commodity prices. Both are disproportionately reliant on one trading partner. In Australia's case, it's China, and in Canada's case, it's the United States. Both countries are making an effort to diversify their economy, and both have been keen for more immigrants to boost the economy. Canada's fertility rate, or should we say the breeding rate, is among the lowest. This rate is below the replacement levels. On the other hand, it has a growing aging population. When it comes to the aging population, Canada is no Japan and not even like Germany or Italy, but with a 17% population over 65 years old, it's not far behind. Further complicating the situation is the combined median age of nearly 42 years. Let's put this all together. A growing number of older people utilizing social and other services without contributing to the economy, a small working age population paying for all this, a low birth rate of children that are supposed to grow up to join the workforce, all this makes the country inclined towards more open immigration policies so a bigger working age population could be achieved. After all, there are only enough taxes that you could put on the high earners under the slogans of tax the rich. And you can't cut back on the social service benefits either, as the existing population is used to them. Then there are skilled workers who bring their skills, obviously. The government does not have a partnership with private companies, so if you don't get the job, then it's your loss. Then there are temporary foreign workers to fill in the jobs that Canadians are less likely to opt in. And last but not least, student immigrants get to study in some of the highest-ranked universities in the world. But for Canadian universities, foreign students are a vital source of income, bringing billions of dollars into the country. Foreign students have to pay much higher tuition fees than the locals. It's economically viable for Canada to let the import of money pouring in. Education is surely a lucrative business. Canada is an energy superpower with the third highest natural resources valued at $33 trillion US. The country has the third largest proven petroleum reserves, and it's the fourth largest oil exporter in the world, with Alberta and Saskatchewan taking the lead. But despite sitting on gigantic oil reserves, it also imports oil for domestic consumption due to various reasons. Canada's oil is supposedly extra heavy, and it's more expensive to extract, refine, and transport. The oil economy can grow and shrink based on the global market prices. When the price is high, it's profitable. When the price is down, it's unprofitable for Canada to sell it. This is true for any business. If your competitor offers the same or better product at a lower price, you are out of business. It makes Canada inclined towards oil imports from the US and Saudi Arabia. Another debatable reason for importing oil is the lack of new pipelines within the country that could increase the availability of domestically produced oil. All of these factors make Canada look for alternative energy sources for future energy demand instead of relying on other countries. It has comparatively little to do with caring for the environment and more to do with economics. Canada is a collection of smaller regional economies. Some regions want to keep the dependence on oil, while others wish the economy to go all green. Some opinions advocate for a gradual and properly phased shift before it is replaced by alternative energy sources that are cost-effective as well as reliable, but no one has a clear answer. Another reason to move away from oil dependence is the need to diversify the economy. Almost all Canadian oil exports go to the US. Staple thesis is a theory that suggests the export of natural resources from Canada to other advanced economies has a pervasive impact on the economy as well as on the social and political systems. Different staples like oil, minerals, forestry, fishing, etc. impact the rates of settlement as well as federal-provincial conflicts. Some say that the economy could still evolve and diversify, while others suggest it could permanently get locked into dependency as a resource hinterland. In simpler words, Canada is used by larger countries for staple resources, and it is tied to larger markets, leaving it less likely to explore its own destiny. Canada ranks 36th on the Economic Complexity Index, which means its economy is less diversified among different sectors relative to other countries ranked top on the list. However, it's still diversified enough, at least much more than Australia, so it won't be right to call it an oil country as it has other sectors including real estate, construction, finance and insurance, logging, automobile, and so on. Canada is the world's biggest exporter of maple syrup. It accounts for over 75% of global production. But contrary to the assumptions, the sweet stuff does not have the biggest impact on the economy. It accounts for around 0.02 to 0.03% of the total GDP. But it does have an impact on the economy of specific regions like Quebec, where thousands of jobs rely on the industry. The region also imports seasonal workers from outside to keep the taps running. Canadians could confirm in the comment section if the $100 Canadian bill smells like maple syrup. Canada has the longest coastline in the world. It's among the top contenders that export fish and fishing products. Lobsters are its top seafood export. While every election in the US, few people insist that they would move to Canada if candidate so-and-so wins. Canada's trade and economic prosperity are disproportionately dependent on the United States. Canada takes full advantage of having the biggest consumer market as its neighbor, with over 75% of its total exports reaching the United States. As the old saying goes, when the US economy catches a cold, the Canadian economy sneezes. This is true in most cases except for the financial sector. Canada also gets security benefits for having a neighbor like the United States, which has the highest military expenditure in the world. Most of the Canadian population is situated roughly hugging the US border. Canada is smart when it comes to the minimum wage. The country has no single minimum wage for the entire country. Instead, the provinces and territories set and impose their own separate minimum wage rates. Canada has one of the highest household disposable income, which is a measure of money a household is left to spend or save after income taxes have been deducted. While disposable income is shown off as a shiny number, not many people talk about discretionary income, which is the amount of income left after all necessities are covered. Disposable income does not calculate wealth as it does not take into account the cost of living and average expenditures. This is how most of the advanced economies are generating working poor with the illusion of wealth. On the other hand, discretionary income data is poorly reported by most countries. Canada is no Switzerland or Norway when it comes to the cost of living, but it's still in the top 25 list. Consumer goods are expensive, although it mostly depends on where you are living within the country. Canada is also among the countries with the most expensive childcare when calculated by the percentage of the couple's average earnings. Canada has one of the highest household debts compared to income levels. These are mainly taken for mortgages and it fuels the housing market. Canadian household debt as a percentage of disposable income has risen above 170%. Housing in some areas is an obvious bubble, with Vancouver and Toronto taking the lead. Growing the manufacturing sector in Canada is somewhat impractical. High wages do not allow it to compete against the countries that have a low-wage workforce. Cheap imports beat out any hopes for a large-scale manufacturing base. This is making the existing manufacturing industry slowly die out or be dependent on government subsidies. Canada has an awesome single-payer health system. Although it's falsely advertised as a free healthcare system and should rather be called a publicly funded healthcare. Healthcare spending represents nearly 12% of the country's GDP. While some Americans are quick to point out flaws in Canadian healthcare, and you can discuss the comparisons between the US and Canadian healthcare in the comments section below, nonetheless, Canada's healthcare system works great for most of the population. Agriculture is not Canada's plus point and accounts for 1.6% of the total economy. You can partly blame the country's harsh climate. There is an abundance of imported food available at a much cheaper price relative to domestically produced food products. However, the government does offer protection to some agricultural sectors like dairy and poultry against the competition induced by the low-price imports and to keep some food self-sufficiency, although this results in higher consumer costs for some products. Canada is not the best when it comes to traditional food and cuisine. Poutine is an exception. Kraft Dinner is also very popular. Canada has the largest number of donut shops per capita. They also consume the most donuts per capita in the world. Tim Hortons is surely a contributing factor. Canada is the second biggest country in the world by area. From Niagara Falls to the Canadian Rockies and having the highest number of lakes in the world, tourism accounts for 1% of the economy. It is something that could be expanded to its full potential in the future. With its early colonial history, Canada has two official languages, French and English. A 2012 study revealed that bilingualism costs about $2.4 billion. Higher education in the country is not a lifetime mortgage that students take decades to repay like in the US. Canada has a well-educated population. The country ranks one of the highest on the Tertiary Education Attainment Index, although what is referred to as white-collar jobs are short in supply. Canada needs more companies like Shopify, but it has a talent drain problem where tons of graduating from universities can go abroad to the south to enjoy better earnings, a higher consumer base, and a warmer climate. Forget about natural resources. Any country's biggest asset is its people. Canada needs to invest in its people, not by showering more social benefits over them, but by promoting a culture of entrepreneurial mindsets and innovation. It has to facilitate its population away from a risk-averse mentality so they could make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen to them. Other than that, life is great in Canada.
Hey, welcome back. I hope you all enjoyed. You've seen the comparison and the cost of life living in Canada. So definitely, that is just about Canada. Like I said before, if you want to travel to any country at all, do your research, find out if your need meets up the expectation, your family need, and don't just jump into any country, and when you get there, you become a liability to yourself and then even the country you're visiting. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you have adequate information about the country you're visiting or you will to stay. You know what I mean? So Canada is a beautiful country. It's pretty cool. It could go to minus 50 sometime. Yeah, and then when it's summer, it's pretty hot as well. So right now we're getting into summer. We're approaching summer of 2023. So it's gonna be pretty hot. A lot of people use AC, but most of the white Canadians, they don't even use AC because they want to enjoy the beautiful weather. You know what I mean? So it is pretty hot when it's hot, and it is pretty cold when it's cold. Thanks for watching. Please hit a like and share. Subscribe to my channel, J Izzo Expression, and comment below. Thank you for watching J Izzo Expression. Big up.